for people to hop in. All right, everybody. Today is Thursday, May 26th. This is the Sea Level Rise Response Collaborative. My name's Danny Madrone with the City of Olympia, chairing the committee, and I will call it to order. Bob, are you able to hear us? He's connecting to audio still. Okay, we'll just give it a couple more seconds here so he can get connected. Bob, can you hear us? Let's see here.
Who doesn't love technology?
Yeah, it looks like he is not yet connected, that his audio connection isn't working.
I want to tell him to sign out and sign back in.
Yeah.
I'm just making stuff up. Don't listen to me.
I was gonna do it, so. Let's see here.
That's always my go-to, right? Just turn it off and turn it back on, and then it works. So.
I don't know if he's seeing the chat.
I'm trying to follow his eyes, but that's really not helping.
Trying to make eye contact through
Right?
Zoom. All right. Lisa at the port, do you have a number to send him a text at, or?
Yeah, I'll see if I can reach him.
Okay, thank you. I think we could at least, oh, he popped off. I think he's going to try again. But I think we can at least get through like the approval of the agenda and some of these parts of it. Joining me is Lietta Dahlhoff, new to the collaborative, and Bob Ayal, also new, will be with us shortly. Oh, he's coming back in. Let's see if it works. Oh, can you hear us now, Bob?
Now you're on mute.
Excellent. Why don't you take yourself off mute? We'll make sure we can hear you. Are you able to unmute, Bob? Oh, it's weird. I don't know what you said. Do you could drop it in the chat. How about I'll go ahead with approval of the agenda and the public comment portion while you take a look, and you can just give me a thumbs up if you approve the agenda. But Lietta, could I get a motion to approve our agenda this evening?
It would be my pleasure. So moved.
Excellent. I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. We have an agenda. And I'll just say again, because Bob wasn't here before, that I'm carrying over the collaborative from last year. We've had one full meeting as a full-fledged interlocal interjurisdictional committee, and both Lietta and Bob are new this year. Lietta joining us from LOT and Bob from the port. So welcome to both of you. I do have public comment on the agenda, and we had a little snafu with the sign up on it. So I'll invite attendees to raise your hand if you have a public comment. And I've got my eyes on the participant box right here. So if somebody has a public comment, go ahead and raise your hand, and we can get you unmuted. And I am not seeing any hands. Oh, but Bob, I see you're not muted anymore. Why don't you give your audio? Oh no, we can't hear you. But you can hear us. I don't know what you said. But if, as you're working on that, you could drop something in the chat box if you have a question, or if you want, you can write on a piece of paper and hold it up. We'll see. We'll make it work. We're going to get through this. Oh, I see we do have somebody with a hand raised for public comment, and that's Thad Kurtz. So Eric, can we get Thad unmuted? Hey there, Thad. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that sometimes when this happens to me, if I adjust the volume on my machine, it fixes this problem.
Oh, excellent. Do you have a public comment, or did you want to say anything about sea level rise? No? Oh, okay.
I wanted to listen to the meeting.
Excellent. Well, we will just go ahead on forth then. We'll just get through these technical snafus. So moving on to committee business, I'm going to pass the floor over to Eric Christensen, who is going to give us a refresher on the sea level rise work plan to orient all of us to the work that has brought us to where we're at today. So go ahead, Eric.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see that?
It should pop up in a moment.
It's
there
thinking.
There it goes.
There we go. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Eric Christensen. I'm the City of Olympia's Water Resources Director. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and we will take minutes from the recording. Just want to welcome you to the second meeting of the Olympia SLR Rise Response Collaborative Executive Committee. Let's see. This is in a summary of the agenda that you've just approved. We've covered the formalities, and I'll be providing you with a refresher on sea level rise, how we got where we are, an overview of the existing interlocal agreement and work plan, and what the desired next steps are. We do need to regain our momentum and start to make some further investments in sea level rise adaptation. You will then select a new officers, chair and vice chair, and then I'll wrap up with a couple of updates on a documentary video series and the potential implications of the Capitol Lake Deschutes estuary decision.
And one addition to that, Eric, that's on the published agenda is we're also going to determine our calendar for the year, our meeting schedule for the year.
Oh, yes, thank you. I did want to say before I moved on that I want to make you aware that moving forward, the Olympia Sea Level Rise Collaborative agendas and minutes will be posted on the city's Legistar system. The URL to access Legistar is here. It is olympia.legistar.com. Once you're there, however, you will need to select the year and the committee, that being Sea Level Rise Response Collaborative. I haven't seen if my keyboard's working. Some of you may know that the city's awareness and work related to climate change and sea level rise dates back to the early 1990s. Olympia was one of the first cities in the nation to begin planning for climate change. A number of studies have been completed since the early 90s. Those are shown here. They're all available on the city's webpage, and the URL for that is shown at the bottom of the page. Most recently, in early 2017, the City of Olympia, the Port of Olympia, and the Lot Clean Water Alliance entered into an interlocal agreement to jointly fund and participate in a formal sea level rise planning process for downtown Olympia, the Bud Inlet Treatment Plant in the Port Peninsula. The collaboration resulted in the Olympia Sea Level Rise Response Plan, which is available on the webpage I just posted. And you should have received a link in the agenda also. The plan envisioned a phased approach to comprehensive near-term, mid-term, and long-term strategies for minimizing flooding from rising seas. The plan addressed climate science, sea level rise projections, vulnerability and risk, and strategies for adaptation along with their estimated costs. If you have not seen the plan, I would ask that you do so. The plan characterized downtown Olympia as a social, cultural, historic, and economic core of the region. The plan helped to provide us with the confidence, and when I say provide us, I mean the city, the port, and lot, provides us with the confidence that with community support, the risk of sea level rise can be managed both technically and financially in the decades ahead. We found there was strong community support for protecting, investing in, and ensuring that downtown is safe and welcoming. These values are reflected in the plan. Downtown Olympia has always been vulnerable to flooding. It's a result of the confluence of high water levels in Capitol Lake and high tides in Bud Inlet. And when those combine, marine water can spill over into downtown streets and low-lying areas. Even with minimal amounts of sea level rise, the risk to the downtown's built environment and services will increase significantly. Downtown flooding is anticipated to become more frequent and severe in the future, and I'll talk about that in the next slide, I believe. I want to point you to the figure on the left that shows the city's vulnerability to 12 inches of sea level rise. Some of you may be aware that the International Panel on Climate Change, also known as the IPCC, recently published a special report on ocean and cryosphere in a changing climate. There were not many new findings, but the report reiterates that sea levels are rising globally with acceleration in recent decades due to increasing rates of ice loss from Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets, as well as continued glacier mass loss and ocean thermal expansion. The report also states that extreme sea level events that are historically rare, that is once per century in recent years, are projected to occur more frequently, and that's defined as at least once per year by 2050 in all the client scenarios that were evaluated. The report also indicates that sea level continues to rise at an increasing rate and is projected to continue beyond 2100 or the end of the century. In the report, the IPCC presents new sea level rise projections, and for the first time, they provide projections beyond the end of the century. The projections for the end of the century, the upper graph in this slide, have increased approximately 6 inches since their last projections were put out in 2018. Projections now range from between approximately 17 and 33 inches by the end of the century. A key message here is that climate mitigation, together with adaptation, is needed to reduce the risks. The higher projection shown here in red assume business as usual in regards to climate, and the lower projection assumes significant climate mitigation actions are implemented. So human society needs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions urgently in order to limit the damage from global warming to the Earth's oceans and frozen lands. The sea level rise projections identified in the Olympia Sea Level Rise Response Plan are significantly higher than those in the recent IPCC special report. The Olympia's plan predicts between 36 and 68 inches of sea level rise by the end of the century. And again, we can compare that to the 17 to 33 inches projected by IPCC. A key thing to note, however, is that the projections take into account up to 8 inches of land subsidence, which adds to our vulnerability in Olympia. It will therefore be important for us to monitor and verify land subsidence trends in downtown Olympia. You were all provided with a copy of the interlocal agreement and bylaws adopted to establish the Olympia Sea Level Rise Response Collaborative last year. Just as a reminder, the existing members include the City of Olympia, the Port of Olympia, and the Lot Clean Water Alliance. The collaborative's intent was or is to take action on sea level rise adaptation and support regional climate change mitigation efforts. And the interlocal agreement established an executive committee to be supported by a staff technical work group. The interlocal agreement provided guiding principles for the collaborative, including working together across interjurisdictional boundaries to maximize resources, develop effective public policy, improve coordination, provide greater efficiencies, and deliver desired outcomes. The interlocal agreement also established the Olympia Sea Level Rise Response Plan as the collaborative's strategic plan. I think, as I mentioned, the interlocal agreement included bylaws, and the bylaws define members as those that have voting rights and equal representation, and also having representation on the executive committee. It defined associates as non-voting ex officio participants. We don't have any here tonight, but we anticipate that will change. The executive committee is tasked with reviewing and approving sea level rise response actions. The bylaws identified the officers' roles and envision committees, including a staff technical work group and ad hoc committees, potentially a finance committee and a stakeholder engagement committee. Procedures for meetings and record keeping are also provided. And one important thing to note is that the bylaws may be amended at any time. The bylaws called for the adoption of a work plan. We provided you with the adopted 5-year work plan based on near-term strategies that were identified in Table 11 of the Olympia Sea Level Rise Response Plan, and physical strategies or flood zone protection projects that may be eligible for funding opportunities. The work plan prioritizes work toward physical, informational, operational, and governance strategies. Are there any questions on the work plan? You did receive a copy of it. To date, we have not constructed any major physical strategies, but we haven't been sitting still. We've installed 22 tide gates on outfalls to Bud Inlet and Capitol Lake that helps prevent water from backflowing up storm drainage pipes into low-lying areas of downtown. It's made a very noticeable difference in flooding in low-lying areas, and I'll show you a video here in a few minutes where you can see that. The city, the Department of Enterprise Services, and Lot Clean Water Alliance coordinate on emergency response planning around downtown flooding. We've ordered magnetic mats to seal storm drains in combined sewer systems to prevent the Bud Inlet treatment plant from being overwhelmed in flooding events. And I don't think I mentioned it, but we have also ordered tide gauge equipment for future installation at the port. We continue to maintain the Sea Level Rise web site and perform public outreach. And each member has been tasked with integrating sea level rise into their planning processes as plans are developed or updated. And the city and the Lot Clean Water Alliance are replacing a failing 48-inch diameter tide gate near the Fiddlehead Marina this summer. Key early action strategies that need to be initiated include installation of the tide gauge at the Port Marine Terminal, performing a satellite land subsidence survey. It'll take approximately 3 years to get good results. Initiating a preliminary groundwater study to determine tidal influences and the need for sheet pile walls to control inland groundwater movement. Initially, this would be a review of existing data and monitoring water levels in existing wells in downtown. We will need to coordinate with FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers regarding physical adaptation strategies, and also to help determine which projects may be eligible for funding and what roles they can or will need to play in the process. One high priority will be identifying state and federal funding opportunities. We anticipate that FEMA's flood mitigation assistance and building resilient infrastructure and communities, the funding cycles should open this fall in September. We also, it's also important that we investigate financing mechanisms like flood districts, rates, utility rates, taxes, etc. The plan identified some preliminary work, but further work needs to be done and fleshed out in that along those work lines. Go down. Several of the strategies come with a price tag. Preliminary costs for the tide gauge, the land subsidence survey, groundwater study, and hiring a consultant for public financing mechanisms are shown here. Given that we are all in or approaching our budgetary season, we wanted to make you aware of the costs. The city of Olympia is proposing to cover 50% of those costs and is asking our partners to contribute 25%. That works out to a little over $100,000 in terms of the city's budget, and then $50,000 for both Lot Clean Water Alliance and the Port of Olympia. I'll now turn things back over to Chair Madrone for officer elections, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Eric. And I also wanted to check in on that last slide around the cost sharing. As you said, our budget seasons are coming up. So Leetta and Bob, do you feel comfortable carrying that request back to your respective jurisdictions to discuss that as part of your budget process?
I see Bob shaking his head yes. I'm looking at my Lisa, and I was like, $50,000, like in the scheme of things.
Now we've got
Well,
the third
Lisa,
Lisa.
I
Okay,
have
we've got
two
all three
Lisas in
Lisas here
this.
now.
Yes, I feel
Excellent.
comfortable.
Excellent. Thank you both so much.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
All right, good. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So one of the things that we have to do annually for this committee is to elect officers. Last meeting was our first official meeting. With us were EJ Zita and Pete Komet, and they were both on their way out. So I became chair. I'm happy to continue in that regard, but as the current chair, I will accept nominations for anybody who has thoughts or ideas on that.
Yeah,
Leetta?
Danny, I would like to nominate Danny Madrone to continue as chair.
Oh,
Second.
excellent. All right. I don't know if a nomination is exactly a motion. Am I technically supposed to call for like nominations 3 times? I see people do that, but I don't really want to do that. I'm gonna skip
I
it.
feel like if
All
you're
right.
the only one on the ballot, it could just,
Yes, yeah. But let's go ahead and make a formal motion, second, and vote, just because I know the attorneys really like that. So
as I have just nominated Danny Madrone, I'd like to move to approve Danny Madrone to maintain chair of the Sea Level Rise Response Collaborative.
Second that motion.
all right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Well, that was super fun. All right, now we need a vice chair. If you guys wanted to like Rochambeau for it, I'd be down to get creative in this selection process.
I am happy to support Bob if he so chooses.
So we have a nomination for Bob. Do you accept?
I will, only because I know Danny will be here all the time, so.
It's also only like quarterly meetings, so.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so Leetta, would you like to make that a formal motion?
I would like to now move to have Bob Isle be the vice chair of
Excellent.
the Sea Level Rise Response Collaborative.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. We did that fun process. And next on our agenda, we should talk about our annual schedule. It was a little bit funky getting this meeting scheduled, but if we go ahead and get
Oh, it was so
everything-
smooth, Danny. It was a smooth process.
Well, we're all such busy people, but if we get it scheduled in advance, then it's easier to get it onto our calendars. I will note that we do have one. I don't know if he's officially an ex officio member, if we've made that official in any way, but Chris Peters does serve as an ex officio member. He's attended at least one meeting before, and every time I ask him if he's going to attend, he says, "Why do you always have your meetings in the evening? Is it possible to have them during the day?" So I know staff also appreciate that from time to time. And so I wanted to check in terms of meeting time, Bob and Leetta. If daytime is an option for you, we can also maintain evenings. I have a flexible day schedule. So what are your thoughts? And Lisa, partially, I want to make sure that we hear about your availability as well.
Well, for me, daytimes are a little more difficult, but if we can keep them towards the end of the week, like Thursday or Friday, that's usually better for me. And I don't mind doing the days. It's just a little bit more difficult.
Okay. How
Yeah,
about you,
if
Leah?
I can do it, I think I told you this earlier, Danny, like Fridays are my wide open days. And as much as I like to keep them open to regenerate my brain, I would love to do a Friday if it's like a lunchtime, right? Or otherwise the evenings, just because my work is pretty bananas.
Yeah, well, and we can also stick with evenings if that is the preference of the committee. I just wanted to put it out there because that was suggested by an ex officio member. But I do want to defer to those of us who are members of the collaborative.
I mean, it's a valid comment, right? And that's been an ongoing struggle with everyone. But if I could free up an evening, heck yeah.
I know, I kind of feel the
if we could
same.
do right, so if we can make it work, I say let's try it.
I could do a Friday if it's midday, noon.
a noon.
Yeah, it gets any other time of the day, no.
Okay, so would a noon to 1:30 work for you, Lisa? That's usually what we have scheduled, is an hour and a half. Yeah, and how about you, Bob? Fridays? Okay, so now we're looking at, so we have Fridays from noon to 1:30 every week. No, I'm kidding.
So my eyes just went, woo!
Yeah, that's what I was going for right there. Right now is May, and if we continue on a quarterly cycle working from May, we're looking, at August and November for the rest of the year, which is only 3 meetings this year. Eric, do you think that is sufficient to get through any tasks that we would need to get through, or should we shift our schedule to get 3 more meetings in for the year?
I think it's sufficient for what we've got going. If we can get started and get some budget approved, we'll start we'll start having more to present to the collaborative executive committee.
Excellent. So when I look at August, right now it's May 26th. When I look at August, that for that week, I'm on vacation then. So with the 12th or 19th of either the second or third Friday work.
Sadly, for me, no,
Oh,
because I will be on vacation as well.
Oh, okay. What about the first Friday? Does that work?
Be the 5th.
The 5th?
Yes.
Okay, how about you, Bob? That first Friday. Okay, so how about we say the first Friday, quarterly, noon to 1:30, and so that would be May. Oh, no, not May. August, November, and then it'll cycle back through to February, and that's a great time for onboarding new people if we do have new people. But then as the collaborative moves forward, we'll know what our schedule is next year, unless we need to change it. That it'll be that first Friday, noon to 1:30, February, May, August, November. Oh, wow, that was a lot more painless than I thought it was going to be. Good job, everyone. Excellent. And also, since Eric brought up the question of, or the concept of ex officio members, where we do have the opportunity to invite ex officio members to come and participate. And I know Ty was interested in coming, and he's listening in now. It is an opportunity. We do have an opportunity to invite the county as an ex officio member, or other jurisdictions as well. So I just want to put that out there. If we want to put that formal invitation out, to the very least, the county, but any other jurisdictions that there might be an interest for.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's at the very least do the county. Lisa, do you have a thought on this? Lisa P?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just
Lisa
my memory
There's
was.
two Lisa Ps.
Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, the other Lisa's smarter than me. My memory when I was the delegate and we were building this, there was an opportunity to get a FEMA grant, but we weren't going to be eligible because we didn't have on our collective, if you want to call it that. No, it's not a scientific meeting. I understand that, but on our collective DES and the county, because they wanted to have all of the jurisdictions impacted for us to get that grant. So getting ex officio, or maybe even at some point altering the ILA to allow other members, might be a good idea for federal funding. Just a thought, and that's my memory.
Oh, DES is a great idea. I can't believe I didn't even think of them. They're a pretty big player in all of this. I don't know if we need to make a formal motion and approval for all that, but I think we could just give direction. Eric, if you have capacity to do it yourself or delegate to somebody, to get a letter to the county and Department of Enterprise Services to see about their interests in having them join us regularly as ex officio members, along with the Squaxin Island Tribe, who we've already met with and have invited.
Okay, we'll do so. We have had quite a bit of correspondence with Department of Enterprise Services, and they are interested. I think they just kind of like to keep it out of the environmental impact statement.
Excellent, excellent. All right, and I see Ty in the chat. He is interested, so we're on the right track here. All right, excellent. The next item on our agenda is reports and updates. And Eric, I believe you have a couple of things, including something with our guest here, Bill.
Yes, I do. And I hope I'm sharing my screen.
It'll come through in a moment. There it is.
Are you seeing the PowerPoint, or is it
Documentary video series.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge and express my gratitude to Bill Lang and his leadership with LTA Productions. They put together a series of videos, and you can see a kind of a screenshot of them on the right-hand side of the screen. They're they're great. They bring they make people aware of what we are doing in Olympia. I've not seen a similar project done for any other community nationwide. I've had people contact me and ask if we could play a role in a similar video, but I've never seen them actually put together. I just want to say, yeah, thank you so much, Bill. And if you, a link to the YouTube videos is here. There's also a link on our Sea Level Rise website. And Bill, is there anything you'd like to say? I know a number of us played a role in this.
Yeah, so the biggest thing I want to say is thank you to everybody who participated. You know, Justine, I know you're all busy in all your schedules, and then we had COVID and still have COVID. So trying to get all of this coordinated, you guys were amazing in you know, carving out the times, and the cooperation from from all of the agencies and the participants was just wonderful. So couldn't have did it without you, and it made it very, very easy. And I've never worked with government agencies before, and so this was like eye-opening and, you know, very, very cool. So thank you very, very much.
And Bill, I'll just note that I was walking through my neighborhood this morning and somebody said, "Hey, Danny, I just saw you in a video about sea level rise." So the word is out, people are watching them, and well done. It was really fun to be a part of that project.
Okay, thank you. Just two other things. So besides putting this on the YouTube site and the connection to the city, it's also on my website. It's just redundant. So I want to let people be aware of that. But as a corollary, we also played this on TC Media, the public access TV station. And we did it in the last week of the year. And we also, they played all of the episodes on Earth Day. So it's getting, it got some traction on that too, and I'm sure that they'll repeat it. But because they played it before the end of last year on the air, that qualified me to submit the series to a conference. And this conference represents about 3,000 public access stations, public stations, government stations. They get about 1,000 submittals of videos for awards, and the Sea Level Rise flooding documentary series won in the category. So this was a national conference. The award will be given out in June. I've published the link and explanation in the YouTube about when you go to the whole list of episodes. So it's, you know, it's working. We're getting people to see this and notice it and all that kind of good stuff. And it was a lot of fun. My crew really enjoyed working on it, and we learned so much about working with the different government agencies. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for contributing to the storytelling of our community.
Yes, thank you, Bill. And I've also got another video that you took in January that I'm going to show here in a few minutes. And I'd like to thank you for that. Okay. If I could, I'd like to move on to Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary.
Excellent. Can we just start calling it Deschutes Estuary now?
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I wanted to start off. But, having a screen problem. Yeah, as Chair Madone mentions, and I'm sure you're all aware, the Washington Department of Enterprise Services has indicated that the environmental impact statement currently being done will identify the estuary as the preferred alternative for Capitol Lake. Capitol Lake is currently the city's highest risk for downtown flooding. And again, that has to do with the combination of river flows and high tides. With any alternative, however, Heritage Park's landscape will need to be modified to prevent flooding downtown. It's currently a floodplain, so it's not high enough to prevent flooding. Tidal elevations are frequently, and by that I mean about a dozen times a year, higher than the downtown's lowest lying areas. At those times, we respond by closing valves and pumping stormwater runoff from the area around 7th Avenue and Water Street. I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my keyboard. In most situations, the existing dam can manage the Deschutes River flows in combination with tides. However, in extreme events, not enough water or not enough river flow can get released through the dam, and that can result in lake levels that are up to a foot higher than tidal elevations. The estuary alternative will therefore result in a lower risk of flooding downtown, but flooding will be driven by tides and significantly less by the Deschutes River flows. On January 7th, I don't know if everyone is aware, we experienced a 17.9 foot tide. That's the highest tide we've experienced in more than 40 years. The tide was predicted to come in as 16.46, but with a low pressure system associated with the approximately 5.5 inches of rain we received in the previous 2 days, the tide came in significantly higher. In addition, the Deschutes River was flowing at approximately 6,200 cubic feet per second at the time of high tide. Those are higher flows than we almost ever experience. I think probably a 20-year flow or so. So this was a pretty dicey situation, and I'm going to start a video here. I hope to. And this is another video that LTA Productions or Bill put together. The high river flows in combinations with the extreme tides at 17.9 tide jeopardized the downtown streets, particularly in the area of 7th and Water Street, as I mentioned, and posed the risk of overwhelming the lot but in the treatment plant if it had gotten into the streets. We were prepared to plug storm drains or catch basins. We had everything in place. But it was clear that the installation of the 22 tide gates recently, along with changes that were made to infrastructure at the 7th Avenue and Water Street, and along with emergency management planning, really helped to make this situation more manageable. The flood that did occur was the highest that I'd ever seen, and I think it was the highest that had been seen at least since the 90s. You'll see in the video that it got up to the restrooms at Heritage Park, and it probably came within about 1/2 inch of going over the curb and into Water Street. Fairly interesting situation. I think the key message is that it was remarkable that we were able to manage it. It's probably one of the worst flooding events we've seen. We definitely would like to thank Department of Enterprise Services for their management of the dam during the event. But it was really fairly interesting. Okay, and that was all that I had tonight. We've already discussed meetings for August and November, so I will stop sharing my screen.
Excellent. All right. Any reports or updates from the other jurisdictions, Leetta and Bob? I know it's your first meeting, but I don't know, maybe you were like just ready to jump in with something that you've been thinking about from the lot report perspective.
Thank you for creating this space, and I will yield my time. Means I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm good. This is a listening session for me. I've read all this stuff, so now I'm just digesting. But thank you for asking.
Excellent. How about you, Bob?
Ditto.
Excellent.
No,
Well-
I'm really happy to be here. I guess I feel kind of like the kid that came late to class, because it is a learning experience, and just trying to get caught up. So, but it's really cool. The videos. I saw the first video, and somehow I didn't realize I was waiting for the next episode to come out. But it looks like they're already out. So I've got plenty of videos to watch there too. So those look really good, and I appreciate receiving all of that information, because now putting it together with this meeting, it's really going to be helpful to get me up to speed.
Excellent. Well, welcome both of you for joining us on the collaborative. I look forward to our work together. Our next steps are to go to our respective jurisdictions with those budget requests. Staff are all on the line, they're listening, so it'll happen. Our next meeting will now be the first Friday in August at noon. And with that, thank you, Eric, for taking the lead on all those presentations, and to everyone else who was present today. Hey, a 50-minute meeting. How about that? I'll call us adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.